Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to today's episode of the Destination Insights series. I'm really excited about today's episode as we'll be focusing on the Maldives, one of only two destinations that have completely lifted all travel restrictions to accept international travelers. We have a great session today with BBC and the Ministry of Tourism or of the Republic of Maldives. Before we actually get into the session, I do have a couple of technical notes as always, so let's just get right into them. But first, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Paul Brangan. I'm the Director of Communications and External Affairs at the Pacific Asia Travel Association. And I'll be the host here for today's episode. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Zoom, you'll notice on the bottom of the screen, there is a toolbar. On that, you'll see there's two functions. There's a chat function and a queue function. So for the chat function, please feel free to introduce yourself, say hello, say where you're from. However, please don't submit any questions using the chat function. The question might get lost in the chat. And also the moderator is only focusing on answering questions that are received using the Q&A function, which is also on the right-hand side of your screen at the very bottom toolbar. So any questions you might have for our panelists, please do use the Q&A function. That is all for the technical notes. And before we get into the session, I would like to now introduce PATA CEO, Dr. Mario Hardy, just to give a quick opening remarks. Mario, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, again, wherever you are around the world. It's a great pleasure to be with you today and once again to be joined for this BBC Destination Insight event. We have a fantastic partnership with the BBC we've had for many years, and it's always a great pleasure to partner with them for such activities. I'm also personally a great fan of the BBC Travel Show, and I'm not saying this because they're actually being supported today by them, but actually because we've, apologies for that. I actually do religiously watch the show every weekend, always in anticipation to the next one. And I really look forward for new content whenever the BBC anchors can travel again. But on that note, I was trying to remember how many times I've actually been to the Maldives, and I can't specifically remember it because I've been so many times for both holidays and as well as for work. It is a destination that makes everyone in the world actually dream, and it's also great to know, as Paul mentioned earlier, that it is one of two destinations around the world who are currently open to tourism. So I look forward to listening to today's sessions to understand what is actually working, and also equally maybe what didn't work so well in their reopening, so that other destinations around the world, we can all learn about the best practices and improve on our way to reopen our respective markets moving forward. Which is critical. We're all desperate for traveling again. I look forward to travel internationally again soon, and I know many of you do as well. So again, look forward to learn from the session today and hear the story of the Maldives. Back to you, Paul. Thank you very much and enjoy today's session.
Thank you, Mario. Yeah, I've never been to the Maldives, so I'm always a bit jealous when Mario says, "Oh, I've been to this place so many times." So yes, I would love to go, and I look forward to the day days borders open and I actually can travel over to the Maldives. And with that, I would like to now welcome with us the Vice President of Advertising Sales for Singapore and Southeast Asia from BBC Global News. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. John Williams. John?
Hello, thank you, Paul. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to you all, and specifically to Dr. Abdullah Malzoum, Minister of Tourism from the Maldives, my fellow panelists and online attendees. Thank you all for joining us at this very special Destination Insight series, jointly organized, as Dr. Mario Hardy said, by PATA and BBC Global News. If you don't know already, the Destination Insight series focuses on one destination in the APAC region every session. We look at how that destination is impacted and, more importantly, recovering from the scourge of COVID-19 in terms of on-ground preparations and communications. Now, this week we'll be focusing on the beautiful, as we already know, multi-island destination of the Maldives. And we are very happy to have with us on the webinar and on the chat a bit later, Dr. Abdullah Moazim, Tourism Minister for the Maldives, Dr. Nashad Mohammed, who is the Deputy Minister of Tourism for the Maldives, Mr. Hassan Arif, General Manager, Corporate Communications for the Maldives Airport Company, Ms. Shafia Steinhilber, the Director of Sales from Hotel Jen in the Maldives, and lastly, Dr. Abdullah Gias, Vice President of Matato. Before we get there, some research tells us that around the world, individuals, including those who consume the BBC, definitely want to go and start traveling again. Our recent surveys show that in August 2020, 63% of BBC audiences in Asia Pacific said that they wanted to go on a vacation as soon as they possibly can. And interestingly enough, that number is up 11% from the similar research that took place in April, only 57%. So quite plainly, lockdown is making people want to travel more and more. In fact, over 35% of that same audience in APAC said that they really enjoyed luxury beach holidays. And lastly, our audience are 130% more likely to choose a luxury beach holiday than the norm, which is great for the Maldives. As Mario said, and I'm just reiterating, people are dreaming of their next overseas trip, whether for business, pleasure, or for pleasure. But they're also acutely aware that in order to do so conveniently, that they need accurate, timely, and really detailed information on where they can travel to and from safely and securely. COVID-19 is a truly global pandemic, and as such, it's impacting every country and every region differently. The result really is that travelers face a very complex, often confusing web of rules and regulations from several sources, and this is actually causing doubt and in some cases hesitancy in the minds of prospective travelers when they're planning. Now, to help audiences plan their travel in the future, BBC Global News, in conjunction with IATA, will be launching in early 2021 a new commercial opportunity entitled Explore a New World. And Paul has already started the looping video. Thank you very much indeed. This is just some of the graphics. Explore a New World sits on bbc.com travel, and it is a comprehensive travel planning tool that provides the BBC reader with consolidated IATA supplied, trusted, time-stamped information, which allows our online readers to plan their travels worldwide. It enables the BBC readers to navigate a new world of travel opportunities, safe in the knowledge that the information and travel protocols that they are reading about are correct, current, and applicable to them. Finally, Explore New World seamlessly marries IATA data and the wealth of BBC travel destination content in a way that is both unique and compelling. So some examples of the types of things that our readers can experience and interact with on Explore New World include an interactive tool that allows individuals to map out where they can travel to from their home destination without restrictions, detailed information on their preferred destination of travel, and most up-to-date travel protocols at that destination for arrivals from their own source country. Thirdly, relevant, editorially aligned and fresh BBC travel content specific to that destination to support, delight, and inspire travel. And lastly, supplementary user-generated social media content from current travelers who are in or have recently been to that destination. And if you're wondering if this is the right time to be running marketing and advertising in the face of the COVID pandemic, well, research shows that there's in fact no better time really to be advertising. Industry research shows that brand recommendation scores for campaigns running now, right now during COVID, are in fact higher than in pre-pandemic period. And a survey that we undertook in July 2020 revealed that 72% of our audience in Asia Pac approves of, would actually like to see more of, brands running advertising at this time. Now, we recognize that there is still so much uncertainty affecting the world, and especially within the travel and tourism industry that we all love. However, the fact remains, people do want to travel, they want to plan their next holiday and business trip, and they are dreaming of traveling again soon. So now is actually a really good time for you in the travel and tourism industry to communicate your plans, your protocols, your services, and more importantly, your destination attractions to our engaged audience of travel lovers. So that's enough of the pitch. Thank you for your time, and allow me to hand back to Paul, who will carry on and pass over to Carmen. Back to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, John. I really look forward to when that actual product launches. I know you've spoken out before, and we've had many inquiries about Explore New World. So I do look forward to it, and I know that I've spoken with the BBC before that as soon as it's launched, they will let PATA know, and we'll of course let all our members and the community know when that new product is launched, and so then you can also explore it itself and maybe add content. But if you have any questions about it, you can also email John. He had his email up before. And without further ado, I would like to now welcome back with us. She's worked with us before, many times before, especially during our Dream to Travel event. So I'm actually happy that she's back with us today. Please welcome from BBC's The Travel Show. She's the presenter, so you've probably seen her before. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Carmen Roberts. Carmen.
Hi, Paul. Thank you. Thanks for having me back. I'm delighted to be here for the Destination Insight series and discussing the Maldives. What an exciting place right now. All eyes of the world will be watching the Maldives, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with Minister Abdullah Malsoom, the Tourism Minister for the Republic of the Maldives. Welcome, Minister Malsoom. How are you?
Thank you very much. The sun is shining, and greetings from sunny side of life.
You're making me very jealous. It's cold and raining here in Tokyo. But Minister Malsoom, you've just taken up this post as Tourism Minister of the Maldives. You just started in August. You're not new to this post. You've done this before. But to take up such a position at the height of a pandemic, what was going through your mind when you were about to take up the position?
Yeah, thank you very much, Carmen. And also, I would like to, before I go to that one, I would like to thank Dr. Mario and John and also Paul. You're right, I was in Singapore when I was called in for this one, and I thought this was a national call, and the industry partners really encouraged me. And as you said, I have been kind of living tourism all my life. And when we had the tsunami crisis, I was engaged as head of tourism promotion board to pull it off. And but this time it is more challenging, as you have mentioned, as just now also as John rightly said, it's a challenging time for all of us. And when I took the challenge, I took it as a challenge, and I love challenges. And I'm very sure that we have got tourism ministry has got full backing of the industry and our 12 partners across the world.
So while all other countries around the world are locking down their borders, why did the Maldives decide to open and open to everybody?
Yeah, Maldives is small. Our main industry is tourism. And when tourism stops, everything stops. So we didn't have much of a choice for us to move on. We had to open the borders, and it is a very brave and bold decision from the President, Ibrahim Saleh, to open the borders with full support of the industry. And our prime objective is to do it in a safe way. So the safety of tourists, safety of staff, and safety of the local community were main concern, and that is the area that we are addressing. And we wanted to model tourism in a way that we could move on with this important economic activity in this crisis situation. And we are doing it slowly, but steadily we are doing it.
Okay, so talk to me about the safety. I understand that when you first opened the borders in July, there was no testing, but now you've introduced testing. Could you talk me through the experience of a traveler? So for instance, if I was going to the Maldives tomorrow, I wish, what would I go through? What would I be doing? Hello?
Hey, Carmen, I can hear you.
Oh, I think maybe the minister have we lost the minister?
Yes, it looks like it.
Oh, okay. Paul, what should we do in this instance? Do we have the deputy minister?
Sorry, sorry, I stepped out there for a second. Oh, so we lost the minister. Well, we can ask the deputy minister, Dr. Naushad, if he wants to jump in real quickly.
Is Dr.
Maybe
Naushad?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Hello, thank you, Dr. Naushad Mohammed, the Deputy Tourism Minister. Thank you for stepping in. I don't know, had a technical issue. But my question to the Minister was, talk me through what happens if I were to be a traveller to the Maldives tomorrow. I understand that when you first opened your borders in July, there was no testing, but is that still the case?
Carrying on where the minister was discussing, uh, initially we set up a situation monitoring unit at the ministry, and we were closely monitoring our main destinations like China, Italy, and India. And as you know, initially the COVID was spread out in our key destinations. So it was quite a challenge. And we had a lot of tourists from our key destinations already holidaying in the Maldives. So there was a point where we need to make sure that when we close the borders for our key destinations, that the tourists who are from the main destinations already residing in Maldives have a way to go back to their country as well. And we are very thankful that we have very good diplomatic relations with these key destinations, which allowed us to facilitate our tourists to go back to their home country. I will allow the minister to continue since he's back.
Hello, Minister Malsoom. Welcome back. I think we might just have to unmute you, please. Can you unmute yourself? Can you press the unmute button, please? That's
Sorry,
perfect.
Sorry, Carmen, I lost you there. I was saying that was when we decided to open the border, we had no choice, and it was a very brave and bold decision from President, His Excellency Ibrahim Soleh, and we did it with full support from the industry. And our main concern, main aspect that we wanted to address was the safety of the tourists, staff, and the local community. And I'm glad we are doing it, and we have found a way to move on with this important industry in this crisis.
So what happens to the traveller when they arrive in the Maldives? Do they have a test on arrival? What's the process?
Now all the tourists who are to come to Maldives, they have to first of all have a booking, confirmed booking, and the ministry has got a very good system in place. We give license to Health Protection Agency approved facilities, so they need to have a booking first of all. So at the moment we have got resorts and safari liveaboards open. So then the other one is they need a negative PCR. So when they come to the airport, you will find things that you would find in an airport these days: thermal scanning and social distancing and mask. And they just have to scan their passport. So it's a touchless environment, really. And as they come out, they can take their luggage or use a trolley. Those are disinfected. And from there on, they are taken to their resort or safari vessel. But we are also going to open our other sector, guest houses, small hotels in the remote islands from 15th October. So that is the day that we are looking at now. And we are very excited. We see promising signs now, and we are slowly moving forward. And the tourists who have come to Maldives, their sense of satisfaction you can see on social media. The freedom of break away from this situation, and coming and having a nice holiday in the Maldives. I think that is really these days a dream come true.
Okay, so you have to have a test 72 hours before you arrive in the Maldives.
Sorry, the test is, the test they have to, it is before they depart from their home country,
Yes.
72 hours before the flight.
But a lot of countries, I know certainly Japan, if I was to re-enter, I need a COVID test 72 hours before I re-enter. So what's the process? Are you equipped to provide tests for your guests in that instance?
We have, for people who are exiting Maldives, we have got test systems in place, test regime in place, conveniently, because some airlines today require the negative PCR test to exit, and also re-enter the country, they need negative PCR test. So those things are in place. And as I told you earlier, we want to model tourism in a way that we move forward during these difficult times. And this is done by, not by regulations, but by total participation from the industry and the tourists. And we are getting it to our satisfaction.
Right. And what have been what have the visitor numbers been like since you've opened the borders? Yes, sorry.
Yeah, first it was a trickle, slowly, but last week was very good. We reached a daily arrival of 1,000. That is the number we anticipated. We don't expect a big number these days because still our source markets have a home quarantine policy, some of them. So you don't want to be in home quarantine after you get that beautiful tan in the Maldives. When you go home, you really want to show off the tan to your friends and colleagues. Or we are hoping that home quarantine will come off in our source market soon. That will be a real game changer. The numbers are increasing, and this year we are expecting 100,000 plus for this remaining period. And another thing is people are deciding to stay longer now because of the border crossing hassles. They choose to stay longer. So our duration of stay has bit 2 weeks now. It's over 2 weeks average duration of stay compared to it was 1 week earlier.
Oh, that's interesting. Make it worth your while, because I guess people aren't going on as many holidays this year.
True, but I think many people wish to come out, but there are many friends, many across the globe. They say, Mausam, put us a flight and we will jump onto it. And, irrespective of that 14-day home quarantine, many of them decide to come. And once they come to Maldives, because, our natural safety mechanism we have is a blessing, because our islands are separated totally. So they come to the airport and they go to their islands, and that is a green lane, total safe corridor. Also the safari vessels, liveaboats are same. And in the Maldives, we have got far-flung surf points, dive points, and these services are going to be also accessible. Even now with safari vessels, it's accessible. When we open the island hotels, the guest house, it's going to be more accessible. So we are now open, and it's unusual, but we are doing business.
Okay, great. Out of the 156 or so resorts on the Maldives, how many are actually open? And
now we have given license to 80 plus, and bed capacity wise in the resorts, we have got, that's about 25,000 beds are open now. But the resorts who are opening now, they are doing it to have the tourism going, because they will not make a profit at the moment. Many of the resorts will be operating for a few days, few weeks on a loss, but some are making profit also, I know that. But that is a sacrifice the industry making to keep the industry going. They, in terms of the other safari sector also, we have got over 2,000 beds in operation now. Totally in Maldives at the moment, we have 50,000 plus beds. So over 50% of the beds are now in operation, but it's not full yet. But we hope that it's going to be getting busier day by day.
Okay, great. And you mentioned it earlier. What's been the biggest barrier to getting people in? You said flights are one thing. Are there not that many flights? And how does that work? Do you have to build a relationship with the airlines, or is it the the source countries, obviously there's foreign travel advisories must also be a stumbling block, I guess, to getting people to the door.
Yes, spot on, Carm. That's one area because travel advisories, what it kind of takes the travel insurance off because it doesn't cover the insurance. But I'm very happy that we are having this talk today because today is going to be a very big day for the Maldives. We are going to announce a Maldives insurance package that will cover travelers for COVID. So that is really good. That's going to be good news for the industry. That's one barrier. So that barrier we will be able to overcome today. Insurance provider, Allied Insurance, will do that today. We will announce it sometime after this show. So the other one is, of course, the fear factor. Mm-hmm. Many people don't know the layout of the Maldives, our geographical spatial spread. But those who have been in the Maldives, there are millions of them, they know that Maldives is good. So the fear factor is there. I think when they hear the story, when they listen to webinars like this, when they see the posts by the many visitors that comes to Maldives now, the fear factor will go away, and they will get the confidence to travel. And of course, the airlines, we already have 10 airlines, including our flag carrier that's operating to Maldives, but we have yet to see more flights coming from the eastern part of the world. And that is at the moment where we are getting the least tourists from. So with more airlines coming, it's going to be good. Some countries are, the demand is so high, the airlines that are operating the flights that we are doing are not enough. For example, from Russia, now we have 2 frequencies and they say, Mosam, put another flight, that will fill up, and we hope we can place one more flight. And I wish to thank the industry partners. They are doing a lot of work to spread the news, promote the industry, and we appreciate contribution from all involved, including those tourists who are visiting us, to show to the world that Maldives is the safest destination in the world now.
That's fantastic. And you've also got the safe travel stamp from the WTTC.
Yeah, that's right, and that is also a very big achievement for us because UNWTO also working with WTTC now, and this gives a guarantee that Maldives has got all the safety measures in place, and it is the industry's undivided commitment that's making this happen. It's not the regulation that we put on the paper; it's the commitment of everybody. The local councils, the industry partners, the community, the airlines, the other authorities, police, defense, health authorities, everybody working hand in hand to make this thing happen, to move on with the industry. And it is exemplary. We are very happy that this is happening. Slowly but steadily, this is happening.
Great. And it's really interesting about the Maldives travel insurance that you're offering. What does this cover?
So they have 2 areas. One is it's linked to the duration of stay. So one rate band is for 7 days and lower. The other rate band is 7 days plus. And so there is the basic that somebody would need in the COVID situation. The system here is very good because if you become symptomatic while you're on holiday, you still continue your holiday in the resort far away from everybody. The resorts have set up a few rooms, and we haven't had cases in the resorts. We only have a few cases so far. So this insurance covers in case of hospitalization. Also, there are figures. I think the insurance company will not be very happy with me if I announce that on their behalf, but this was done in discussion with us and our industry partners, and we wanted to encourage tourists to come here and not worry too much about medical expenses. So it's going to cost less than $40 per person for various packages, and it covers everything that need to be covered to take care of the COVID.
Okay, so you touched on it briefly. What happens if you have a guest that has COVID? Do they quarantine in that resort, or are they transported to a hospital in Mali?
Because we have over 23,000 tourists since we opened the border now. We haven't had to take anybody to hospital. Only we had one guest, we had to take someone for a medical facility for 5 days, and then later he again went to a tourist facility, where we call a tourist facility, where we take if somebody is symptomatic or if it's a contact, we take the tourists there. They still continue their holiday. So they have their menu, but usual scenario, the tourists will continue their holiday in the resort they book. Then if a test is needed, if quarantine is needed, they can still continue to do it. But we also have our dedicated government facilities, which is still a tourist resort, but different from the resort they originally booked to. They can still continue. And our Maldives is now very much prepared for the pandemic, because we are ready, and our community numbers has gone down tremendously, and we have ample facilities, and we are very confident now we can move on with this. And I think more than a word from me, it is the Instagram posts and tweets and other Facebook posts from the tourists who have visited us these days would tell the real story. But I am telling you, Maldives story is now very beautiful.
Great. Thank you so much, Minister Malsoom. That was really, really interesting. Great to hear from you. And it's good to hear something positive coming out from the Maldives. And I'm great that we got that scoop on the new travel insurance as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Carmen. It is lovely talking with you. We look forward to welcoming you, and we hope that we welcome year 2021 in a jubilant mood. Thank you.
I'll speak to my boss. Thank you, Minister Malsoom. Okay, well, let's move on to the panel discussion. And we had a brief introduction to Dr. Naushad Mohammed, who is the Deputy Tourism Minister. Welcome again, Dr. Naushad. We're also joined on the panel by Hassan Arif, who is the General Manager and the Corporate Communications Manager of the Maldives Airports Company. Welcome, Hassan. If you could turn on your camera, that would be great. And Shafia Steinhilber, who is the Director of Sales at Hotel Gen Male, Maldives by Shangri-La. Shafia, if you could turn on your camera too, that would be wonderful. And finally, we have Abdullah Gias, who is the Vice President of the Maldives Association of Travel Agents and Tour Operators, as well as the Chair of PARTA's Maldives chapter. Welcome, Abdullah Gias. Great to see everybody on this panel. So I guess most people will be tuning in today. All eyes of the tourism world will be on the Maldives to see how you are faring. What are you doing? Everyone will want to be learning from you. So I guess my first question to the panel is, what's been the most challenging part? So I guess maybe we start with Hassan at the airports. When people first arrive, what's been the biggest challenge for you?
Well, thank you very much. Greetings from the Republic of Maldives. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to appear in your series, and I'm honored to be around with these fine people. Well, this is an unusual time for all of us. I think COVID pandemic has proven its devastation to the world. While we are all affected, I think the hardest hit two industries are and were the aviation industry and the tourism industry. And I think Maldives has relied upon for the past 40 years. And it will continue to be relied upon for the next several decades, I assume. So since February onwards, Valana International Airport experienced a drastic decrease in the number of passengers because of the global restrictions and a temporary closure of our border. Our passengers decreased, Carmen, by 95%. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
And you can, yeah, you just can't assume the snowball effect, which had impacted our whole business ecosystem. But as the saying goes, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And I see after mid-July progress in our arrivals. But despite these difficult times, I'm amazed and impressed about how quickly Maldives was able to take action against this COVID pandemic situation. And when all these things started, we were concerned about the rate of spread. And of course, our number one priority was the safety. But we had major two focuses. How do we be a safe airport? B, how can we stimulate market and create demands? Which I'll come back to you later on that. Coming back to your question, on the challenges we face on welcoming back the guests, I think at present, locally, the requirement of 72 hours of PCR test, in my mind, is too short for the incoming passengers because, it takes a day for the test results to come in, and the passenger gets about 2 or less days for the travel. And this is a challenge, especially for the long distance traveler. So I reckon if the PCR test is changed to 96 hours, it would make life more easier for those long distance travelers. Now, another challenge which I can see from the rest of the world is the individual nations' restrictive measures. Now, some states has changed measures overnight. Now, this creates problems in allocating aviation resources and do proper planning. So we need a universal, acceptable travel arrangements. If someone can be aware of, it has been a while since aviation bodies like ACI and IATA, which has been pushing and pressuring for a pre-departure testing to be established, for the freedom of movements. Just recently, pressure intensified to drop quarantine in favor of passenger-wide testing protocols, especially in the EU. Now, everyone knows that we live in a COVID coexistent world, so why can't the states make rapid testing approved? So I think on the challenges side, this is the two things which I see. Back to you, Carmen.
Okay, thank you, Hassan. I can't imagine what must be difficult having a new normal like that at the airport and having all those difficulties. I think I've read that international air travel this year globally will drop 70%.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yes, and what about you, Abdullah Giyas? What's been the biggest challenges for the tour operator?
Hi. So I would say starting from the very mindset of everybody, I think rather than just not only looking at from the tour operator's point of view, I think the industry-wide mindset has been a big challenge when you're dealing with all the different stakeholders, whether it is the airport's company staff or the immigration officer or the person welcoming at the airport, to the boat crew or transfer, the front desk. I think from a logistical perspective, if we look at, we're all trying to work in making Maldives as an environment and experience that is safe and healthy. We also have to admit that this is a process. Unfortunately, it's an ever-changing process. It's also been a learning curve for us as we globally battle this. The guidelines and the precautionary measures, even the local agency, the health protection agency that spearheads this, is adapting, is changing in line with the WHO. And if you look at from a travel agent's perspective, I think time has never been this relevant for a tour operator, because you need today somebody on the ground who would be your ambassador, who you can pick up the phone and call and find out what exactly is happening on the ground. When someone who is available around the clock, whether it's an emergency, Like I said, the situation is so dynamic and changing. You need to keep up with what's happening, and in terms of not even just the health precaution, but also if you're looking for various offerings in the market. From a marketing perspective, I think the challenge has also been very, very different. Since July, when we opened it, in August, we have almost a second wave with the cases going up. So it was very difficult to convince our international partners to come to the Maldives. But I think we are lucky. The fact that the way we are naturally built, majority of the cases has been in Mali. We have 1,000+ islands that are naturally built from, isolated from each other. What happens in Mali doesn't reflect what happens in these islands. And this has been a challenge to communicate this, especially when the per capita infection rate was going up. So we were communicating with our partners, and I think the WTTC's Safe Travel Seal definitely helped. We are still educating and advising and promoting that things are very different. The situation and even the community spread in Mali, as the Minister Honorable said, it has been coming down. So there is more confidence. The situation is definitely getting better. And I think going forward, from the experiences that we had from July 15th till now, I think we are definitely making a lot of changes. In 7 days, we are opening the guest houses, like again, Minister said. So we have definitely been adapting and learning and making changes as we go on. As I said, it's a process.
Oh, thank you, Abdullah. That's really interesting that you said that it's almost like the travel industry has come a full circle. Just last year, everyone was doing everything online. You didn't need a travel agent anymore. You didn't need someone on the ground to hold your hand or advise you, because you knew it all. You could book it all online and it was not a problem. And it's interesting. We've almost come a full circle. We're going back to basics again. And that's really interesting. And also you said that a lot of the cases were in Mali. So Shafia, your hotel is based in Mali. What have been the stumbling blocks and challenges and success stories, I guess, have you had at the helm of a hotel in Mali?
Firstly, thank you so much for BBC as well, Pata, as well Ministry of Tourism, for giving me this opportunity, and with all the tourism experts as well, to share my views as well. It's been very challenging, and I've been working in the industry for the past 18 years, and this is something which was very unpredictable, and it's one of the things which I really wanted to deeply study, and how is it going to be in future. Well, the Maldives economy is primarily based on tourism and tourism-related sectors. The percentages of tourism in GDP is 2000 by 26%. So it's comparing to, we are mainly focused on tourism. The impact could stay longer. And our experience from Maldives shows that the tourism sector is more resilient, and often it may even prolong. From our point of view, the challenges is to understand in future how the travelers, the customer behaviors, the expenditures, the patterns, the perception, the expectation, and the trends. This is something that in future we are finding in challenges. How is it going to be? We can't compare. We can't talk about what's happened before. How is it going to be in future? How is the market is going to be responding in future? Because Maldives is categorized as the high-end market around the world. So how is it going to be in future? It's important to study, and this is something that it's personally me as a director of sales will be facing challenges to understand the customer behavior. But I would take this opportunity as well to thank the government of Maldives, that we are one of those countries that has lifted the travel restrictions, and we have acted so quickly, on the safety measurements as well, to give the assurance to the travelers that it is safe to travel to Maldives with very limited restrictions. So that's something that to build that trust in the customers as well. So yes, to understand the travel patterns, that's something that I find really challenging right now.
But what's being done differently at the hotels, in particular your hotels? The Hotel Jen is hosts all the air crew. Is that correct? So what's being done differently?
Well, for us, for the safety measurements to ensure that the protocols, enhanced protocols and procedures, because we do have our Shangri-La Care, which enables our people as well, mainly. It's not only about the guest, it's about enabling the people and the standards as well. So, of course, we are working with the local government authorities like World Health Organization and Health Protection Agency to ensure these standards are implemented in the hotel to make sure that regardless whether it's whether it's a crew or whether it's a guest, to make sure that you are safe to travel, and we do have the safety measurements in place. And what I find challenging is, the procedure from a guest point of view. If I want to travel, the main question is, do I have to restrict myself 14 days in the hotel? Do I have to have a COVID negative test? And I believe we have done a good job in making sure that these procedures has been communicated, widely, and we are still doing it from stakeholders, from all our partners as well, to make sure these informations are passed, clearly communicated to our customers as well. So our main point is definitely enabling people and enhancing those protocols and procedures are in place as per the standards.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds like all the protocols, the health protocols are in place in the Maldives. We've got the WTTC's safe travel stamps, but as Hassan mentioned earlier, it's getting the people in the door, it's getting those flights in. So let's bring in Dr. Naushad Mohammed. So I guess, it must be a joint effort with the airports, with the governments. How do you get more flights to come in? What's the process? How do you lobby governments? What happens? How do you get more guests to come through the door?
Definitely, we need to build trust among potential tourists. With the new normal, there is an additional factor that we need to consider in incoming tourists, the anxiety factor. Especially, although we've been getting more destinations, there will still be newcomers to Maldives as well. And as the panelists have been discussing, it's very difficult for us to portray and explain the geographic setup of Maldives. To get a good perspective, I'd like to quote from the discussion by Sandra on UNWTO World Tourism Day celebration. She very neatly mentioned that there's a demand for open space, or the demand for natural space has increased due to COVID. And as the panelists have been discussing, more the tourist resorts, the one island, one resort concept is naturally isolated. Potential tourists need to understand that tourists arrive to the airport, international airport, which in itself is a separate island, and it's separate to the capital as well, although it's connected by a bridge, still it's a separate island. And the tourists go straight to the resort. Even the local islands, tourists go straight from the airport to the local islands. So far, our infections, COVID cases have been only in capital Male. And I don't think there's ever been a case where the COVID pandemic has gone out of control. We have been able to contain it within capital Male. So I think tourists need to understand this. And although we are communicating very well with our embassies, airlines, and the industries, in fact, the Ministry of Tourism has, we always, when we draft regulations or policies, we discuss with the industry on a weekly basis, and we try to get a grip of how this will impact the industry, how this will practically impact those who are there to practice this. Coming back to local councils, even when we are preparing to open up guest houses in the local islands, we are meeting with the local councils, but on a one-to-one basis to discuss with them about their challenges. So I think the fact that we are able to work on this together even within our country, as with the industries as well as globally. We are very lucky that we have very positive diplomatic relations with our key destinations. And in that regard, we are able to discuss with them about what it is that Maldives can do to build trust and to open the borders. So even now we have established an air bubble with India. We might have some arrangements with Singapore as well. So there are a lot of positive things coming up, I guess, with the things that we are discussing right now. Thank you.
Great. Just a reminder to the audience and attendees, if you have some questions for our panelists, please use the Q&A function. So we'll just have one more question before we start looking at questions from the audience. Hassan, have you had any people testing positive? Is there a test on arrival at the airports? I guess with the heat sensors and things like that, have you had people come through with high temperatures? And if so, what happens? Or you have to unmute yourself.
Oh,
thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Carmen. I think we have done protocols and guidelines we follow from HPA. For the safety and security at airport, we have taken those classic measures in protecting our travelers, like screening of passengers, those thermal screenings, and maintaining physical distancing, marking queue areas and rearranging seats, prepared PPEs for our staff and made it mandatory for them to wear. We even had our posters installed on the walls so that the passengers will know. And then even now, every 3 hours, disinfections work will take place. So I think we've done a good job as per the HPA guidelines. And at this point of time, I want to assure you that Maldives Airports Company Limited has taken all necessary steps to maintain Valana International Airport as a safe airport for our travelers. Safety being our utmost priority, we want to build traveler confidence and create positivity towards the destination Maldives. And because of our continuous efforts, on the 29th of August 2020, Valana International Airport was able to achieve the ACI International Health Accreditation Certificate. And we got this as the second airport from the Asia Pacific region, which is, I don't know, about 600 more airports. And also we attained this certification as the 12th from the world. So this is the degree of our intensified safety measures to protect our travelers. And I'm so glad that our small airport has been recognized by the Airports Council International, the international body for the airports in the world.
Okay, congratulations. So what would happen if I arrived in the Maldives, I've had my negative test, but I arrive and I've got a temperature of 39 degrees, for instance. Would I be sent back on the plane, or would I be sent to quarantine or sent to the hospital in Mali? What would happen?
Right now, Carmen, you need to have a PCR negative test. Mm-hmm. I think you were posing to the minister what would happen when someone comes with this. Before the PCR test was done, there was a health declaration form which the passengers has to fill. And of course, those thermal screens, they will know their temperature. But now, since September onwards, last month, September, PCR test is mandatory for everyone who is coming to the Maldives. And not only that, there's a form to be filled from the immigration website, which is called IMUGA. So all these things should be positive and should be negative, and that person should be coming to the airport as a green person. Mm-hmm. So, if there's some temperature, alterations, Maldives is a very hot country. Sometimes, you need to wait for, to cool down. because there's no air bridges here. So you just walk down to the apron, which is hot, and then you need to cool off. And I don't think there's any problem with that. It's just you need to have a PCR test, and you need to get all these confirmations filled, and then come back to the Maldives. There's no problem in it.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's have a look at some of the questions. Alan West has asked about the United Kingdom. I guess this might be a question for you, Dr. Naushad. The United Kingdom's current travel advisory says that you should not travel to the Maldives. So how is that? Do you think that will be solved, Dr. Naushad, by this new travel insurance? Do you think that will solve the problem, or do you think people are quite put off by these travel advisories, and what can you do about it?
I think from what we see, things are moving in the positive end for Maldives, mainly because of the precautionary measures that we are taking. For one thing, the requirement that all tourists who arrive to Maldives has to have a negative PCR has helped to build the trust. And also with us getting ready to open local island tourism in the islands, all the tourists who stay in a local island has to have another departure PCR test taken before they leave the island to ensure that they have not been contaminated or they have not got COVID while they stay in the Maldives. So I think we are taking maximum effort to ensure the safety of the tourists as well as local community. With me, we are staying in the capital, Mali. We are not allowed to even travel to tourist resorts or even local islands. If we have to travel to a local island, we have to have a 14-day quarantine period completed. And if even movement of locals from one island to another island or even resorts is restricted. So there's a lot of priority given to tourists who are staying in tourist resorts as well as local islands are being prepared to receive the returning tourists. So I think with the meetings that I've had with the embassies here, we are getting very positive vibes with the decisions and that we are taking. And I think it's mainly because we allow and we trust health professionals in the country to lead and to guide us through. And I think all the agencies, both in the government as well as the tourism sector, is working very closely to make sure that we get out of this pandemic and we come back to normal as soon as possible. So I think with these things would improve very quickly. Thank you.
Great. The next question was from Krishna Raj Iyer. Oh no, hold on, that was underwater tourism. So Rabi Starpit said, do you need a test before departure from the Maldives to board the flight? I think we did answer that earlier, didn't we? You do need a test, and that's been provided. So John Park has also asked about who are the tourists that are coming, because we've seen that there's been a 20% increase in occupancy rates in the Maldives. Where are your tourists coming from? I guess this could be a question for all four of you, really, Hassan or Abdullah or Dr. Naushad. Where are most of the tourists coming?
Right, yes. See, initially our main target, our main top destinations were India and China. And up until September, our top markets were Italy, India, and UK. For now, it's again changed, and now we have Russia, UAE, and USA. It doesn't mean necessarily that our tourists are now UAE residents, I mean nationalities. So if you look at nationalities, we can see that it's still Europeans who are residing in UAE that are coming to Maldives. So I think still as soon as countries like UK and China start allowing their tourists to travel around the world, I think we will be able to pick our top markets very soon. Thank you.
Yeah, I also agree with Dr. Naushad. I think Russian travelers has jumped from 300% simply because I think they have introduced their vaccine. So they're quite confident about traveling to the Maldives. So Russia is #1 market at the moment, followed by, as Dr. Nishad has highlighted, United Arab Emirates and United States, who's below us. For some reason, they're the #3, I think. And United Kingdom is there, and Spain is also there. So things will change as we go along.
Okay. One last question from the audience, because we've run out of time. As part of the new normal, I cannot read Chinese, so I'm not sure who the name of this. So my question goes to Shafia and Abdullah. So what's the new normal? So what are the tourist preferences and behaviors, and how are you catering to these? So should we start with Shafia?
Yes. The behavior of our majority of guests, I'll speak on behalf of a city hotel. Our majority of guests are for business travelers. And they are mainly, as per the guidelines, they are mainly for the transit stay. The behavior has changed because in terms of the new protocols and procedure that has been placed, the thing is, in terms of, let's say, in terms of normal dining, we do not see that much of a trend where people really wants to gather because of the social distancing as well. There's a change in the behavior as well in terms of the stay as well. The thing is, the preferences of the guest is vastly changed because of the way that we have changed in terms of our safety guidelines as well. For an example, if a corporate guest wants to stay, normally they stay for more than 5 nights, but the trend has changed to maximum 2 nights. So they need to do everything within those 2 nights. From a hotel perspective, our main focus is to make sure that we tell all the procedures, it's clear, it's clearly mentioned to the guests, because to me personally, the challenges is a lot of questions. Is this to be done? How is it going to be? Can we do a PCR test? They are more focused on this. But if we tell this more clearly to them, it's not about the stay. Nothing has changed, to be honest, in the stay. It's the way of traveling which has stayed, whether they wanted to stay in Mali, whether they wanted to whether they need to quarantine 14 days. So that, in my point of view, it's a little bit of confused, but as we are doing it, as we are making sure that we give all this information to the guests, I think they do feel, they feel the confidence to travel. So we as employees, we as team members of the hotel, to make sure that we are well trained actually, to ensure to give that guest that info, that they need. Personally, from a point of behavior, people want to travel back. They have been stuck 6 months in the house. They want to do their business. They want to be in the normal life, and what they are just hesitant is because of the new normal and new restrictions. It's us who we need to build that confidence and to make sure that we are working along with the government to make sure that we are updated on the daily, because it gets updated every day, and we understand it's a behavior, it's changes, because everything is changing from today to tomorrow. So just to make sure that we are well trained from our perspective, to make sure that we give that confidence for the travelers to come.
Great. And what about you, Abdullah Giyas? What's the new normal in terms of preferences, travelers' preferences?
I think in terms of preference, I think you're looking at, and from the way I can understand it, it's from 2 perspectives. One, before arrival, and then once you arrive in the Maldives. As Shafia rightly said, people have been stuck at home. If you look at various different research, Maldives is among those destinations that people have been dreaming about and been wanting to become. And I think the appetite for Maldives has never been this high, especially when you look at Google or it is other OTAs or different things like that. And once you get here, obviously, different properties, whether it is a liverboat or a resort, and very soon guest houses, the approach is somewhat, I would say, different. But in general, I think if you look at on a macro level, it is the HPA guideline, the WHO guideline. People are now a bit more conscious about different things. I think, like, again, with the PCR tests or with the other different details, one thing that we were getting in the last couple of weeks were what will happen if you're staying in a property and on departure, on your exit, you become positive. Some people spend a lot of money. You know, we had a case where it was a few $1,000s a night, having to spend that again for another 14 days. He was very worried. So I think with the travel insurance and also with the dedicated facilities that's coming up, or that is there already, I think these problems are being solved. And like I said, it's a learning curve. But I wouldn't say there's such a drastic change in people's behavior, because at the end of the day, people want a peaceful holiday. People want a safe holiday. And I think that's what Maldives is striving to provide.
Well, thank you so much to everybody on the panel. We, you know, we've run out of time.
Oh, really?
Minutes over. I could talk for another hour. This is so interesting. I want to hear more about all your experiences. And there are still a few more questions on the Q&A function. So perhaps Paul could, all the unanswered questions could be emailed to the panelists at a later date, to the correct people that to address the questions from the audiences. But what really strikes me in this pandemic is that everything's gone back to basics. So we've now become more appreciative of the home unit. We've all been at home a lot more, and now we're more appreciative of having a holiday. You know, previously people were jetting off here and there. You'd go to Paris for the weekend, you'd think nothing of it. But now people have to plan, you know, and probably they would spend more time at that one destination than they ordinarily would, perhaps spend a bit more money, and you'd have one big holiday for the year like you did many years ago. And then you would have a local person on the ground to guide you through your experiences, going back to basics with a tour operator and a travel agent. So I guess that's a different way. It's brought us all back to, you know, calm down, don't be so crazy with your travel and in life, in daily life, I guess. What's made me think from this discussion.
Just before the end, I just want to say something about the country Maldives. What I've learned is that every country is unique, and as a destination, Maldives remains most unique for travel experiences during the COVID. Can you imagine, Carmen? There are resorts working packages to welcome them to work at the Maldives with their powdery sandy beaches, you know. So this is the kind of Maldives we are. Maldives as a country, we have done so much to prevail over the pandemic, introducing, reinventing ourselves. I mean, MMPRC, the promotion body, have made a slogan for, as rediscover Maldives for destination Maldives. And also we ourselves, we have made this slogan called happy to see you again to welcome our partner airlines. Maldives is rising. We can say positive things here. I think on August, we got the ACI International Health Certification. And last month, we got the Safe Travel Certification from UNWTO. And this is a huge boost to our country. And also the introduction of Maldives border miles on the tourism day last 27th September. I mean, this is a phenomenal idea. This is a very innovative idea, earning points just like the airlines when you enter and stay in the Maldives. I mean, this is absolutely great. I think we have celebrities with millions of followers like Demi Rose and Anna Cherry having their vacations as we speak right now. And since 2 months of border opening, I think we have seen an increase of 69%, and there are 11 different airlines at present this summer. British Airways is going to start, I think, 16th or 17th of October. Emirates has already added another frequency, which is making daily flights per week. And there are around 34 airlines which has filed for winter season. And I think this is all great for the Maldives. You know, we are prospering.
As Hassan said, I think it's running in a as a destination, you know, which is comparing to other destinations. I think we are doing a pretty good job comparing from the government of Maldives, so from the airport, and highlighting the border lines, border miles. It's one of those things which is, I think Maldives is one of those countries. I think we are the only country which really has a border mile, I think, airport. So that's something that we need to really highlight to give that confidence. You know, you need to just pack your bags and travel to Maldives, you know, and
yeah, come to Maldives.
no need to worry about anything. All you need is a negative PCR test and everything is taken care.
Good to know. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I'll hand. I have an echo now.
Well, thank you so much. That really was a very insightful session. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Dr. Naushad, Hassan, Abdullah, and Shafia. You guys can all turn your cameras off and mute yourselves as I wrap up. But yes, that really was a very insightful session. It's interesting to hear what the challenges are for the Maldives. I mean, it's very unique. You know, there's only one of two destinations in the world that have no travel restrictions for people to go there. So it's interesting to hear, and I hope a lot of people watch this and share this with their friends and colleagues, so they can also have a better idea of, you know, what happens if you open up. There's always been, you know, I know there's a lot of pressure here for destinations here to open up to international visitors. So I think it's important that we share some of our experiences, some of our learnings, and that's the whole idea of the Destination Insights series, to, you know, to get a better idea of what's going on around the world, so that we can learn and adjust to the current pandemic. So I just wanted to, before we end the session, I just want to just leave you with a couple of notes here. So just want to make you aware of our upcoming next webinar. This is our PATA Spotlight series. This is October 15th at 3 p.m. That's Bangkok time, GMT +7. It's Traveling at the Speed of Culture, How Do We Keep Up? And that's presented by Beautiful Destinations. And our speaker will be the Executive Director for Beautiful Destinations, Elizabeth Linder. So please do join us. You can find out more about our upcoming webinars on our website. Just go to www.pata.org. I was actually also asked to mention one thing to any of our youth or young tourism professionals who are listening right now or watching right now. We're currently accepting, if you're looking for any intern opportunities, PATA is currently accepting intern applications for 2021. And today we have an IG Live Ask and Tell session. So it's dedicated to answering any questions you might have about becoming an intern at PATA. That's at 5 p.m. Bangkok time. Just go to our IG account, our Instagram account. That's at PATA_HQ. So if you can share it, if any of our other attendees, they can share it with anybody that's interested in any intern opportunities. With that, I would like to once again thank all of our speakers, the minister, the deputy minister, Hassan, Abdullah, Shafia, Dr. Naushad, of course, and Carmen for joining us today and for providing the great session we have. And with that, that is the end of today's webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email is paul@pata.org. Any more information about PATA and our activities, please do go to our website. And with that, thank you all for joining us here today. And hopefully I'll see you at our next webinar. Take care. Goodbye.